Alright guys, welcome back to Whiskey Business. If you're new here, I appreciate you coming by. Today, we're going to be reviewing a very, very classic bourbon. So, it is Maker's Mark, original Maker's Mark, Kentucky Straight Bourbon. This is bottled at 45% or 90 proof, if you didn't know, and it's obviously made in Kentucky. So let's pour us up a dram. Now, I got this recently. I actually got it on sale for the Easter weekend here in Ontario. The LCBO had a one-day sale on it. This is the 1.14 liter, and I got quite the steal on this, I will not lie. I had this previously. My uncle actually used to go to America. He used to go to America quite often for work, and every time he went, his bosses down there at the company he worked for would always give him a bottle of Maker's, so when he got back, he'd be sure to share it with me and my cousin. It was really my introductory into bourbon. Technically, I mean, I wasn't out there tasting it, and neither was he, honestly. He was doing shots of it, and that's kind of what we did with it, but it was my introductory to bourbon, and I went back to it after watching, I think his name is Blind Whisky Reviews. I watched his whole budget distiller showdown, and he was not fond of the Maker's Mark, but I had already purchased it. He actually had me a little bit let down on my purchase, and it turned out that I really liked it. It seems like people either love it or they hate it. I think it's really nice. I think there's a place for it. I do find it a little bit thin, but the nose is phenomenal, and the palate is just sweet and just super baked goods-esque, like nice vanillas, nice sweet caramels, toffee. This is going off from what I remember. I've done many blinds, and this always makes its way up into the top tiers of my blind. I actually have been really enjoying sipping on just some sparkling lemon water to cleanse the palate. I know it's like, for me, I would see people drinking beer with their whiskey to cleanse the palate, and I was like, there's no way. Like, that helps you cleanse the palate, because you're tasting all these things, you're distorting your palate. And then I thought the same about this lemon water, but for some reason, carbonated water helps almost scrub the palate for me, and I won't drink plain carbonated water. I actually hated carbonated water for so long because it made me gag, but this stuff, it helps scrub the palate. So I like to sip that in between my whiskey, and especially if I'm doing blinds, I find it helps. That or plain water. But without further ado, let's get into the maker's mark here. It's a nice golden amber color. It probably is chill filtered though, but straight away on the nose, it is a hot one today, so excuse the excessive sweating. Right away on the nose, toasted oak, vanilla, definitely toffee. Nice toffee, maybe like a burnt brown sugar. It could be fresh brown sugar and the charred oak mixing, but very nice. Subtle hints of orange oil. If you get real deep in there, there's like orange oil all around. A very, very great smelling nose, and it's distinct compared to other bourbons. It's very sweet. So if you like sweet, which I didn't before, I actually really didn't like sweet, and it had me put off of the 40 Creek Copper Pot for so long, and I really enjoyed the regular 40 Creek Barrel Select. But this Copper Pot has really grown on me since I've started enjoying sweet flavors. Now the Copper Pot's not very complex, but that's for another video. So all around, this nose is great. Just very, grandma's kitchen when she's baking up something for dessert. That's the best way I can put it. Maybe like a pecan pie, maybe butter tart, something like that. I love the nose on it. It's one of my favorite noses to date. So, but without further ado, cheers, guys. This is one of those bourbons that the flavor is just so distinct and so good, and it's got just the right amount of punch. I mean, I think I would really enjoy a Maker's 46 or a Maker's 101, but the price of those where I live is just absurd, let alone the 101 is really hard to find. But I think if this stuff was 40%, it would not be as good as it is. Like, it has a substantial amount of burn and spice to it, considering it's only 45%. And like I said, I've stacked this up against other bourbons, and this one holds its ground. I mean, I've found very few that hold up, especially when I'm doing blinds with stuff like the Wild Turkey 101 or the Rare Breed or the Knob Creek. Like, those are sitting at 100 proof, 101 proof, and then 116 proof, and like this Maker's holds up. The Old Forester holds up, but yeah, all around, beautiful palate, super oaky, super sweet oak, like a caramel toffee, cinnamon, lots of baking spices for sure, almost rye-esque. Now going back to the nose, I'm getting some dark fruits, something like plum, maybe fig. Oh, that's nice. Oh, the nose on this, I just love the nose. I don't know why. Not very complex, it's just super sweet and oaky, and it's kind of like spice all through the finish. The finish is like a decent length, but it's not very strong of a finish. It's just kind of like there in the back of the crowd. But it's nice, and it's not something to rave about. But if I'm gonna go to a bar and this is the only bourbon they have, I'm gonna be content with it. It's good, and I think that the 101, like I said, would be really really favorable for me. I think the thing that the standard makers is lacking in is really the proof and the viscosity. It's just very very thin, and I think if it was a little bit thicker and oilier and higher proof, you'd get more of a mouth coating feel, and the finish would be a lot longer. But if if I'm being honest, like I still have a little bit of that spice in the finish right now. Well, as I talk, it's on the breath. I can feel it. So it's not a bad finish. It's just not potent. Like it doesn't stand out. It's just really back there. But if you really try to focus on it, you can tell. Like, yeah, I can still taste some spice. It's very oaky. Really nice palate. It's really nice. I can't complain. Slight bit nutty, like a walnut. Not anything super strong. Not a peanut. Not a hazelnut. I find like the Knob Creek 9-year-old super peanutty. Straight. I actually get like powdered peanut butter on that one, like a PB2 if you've ever had that. But this is more hazelnut. Sorry, not hazelnut. Walnut. Maybe like Brazil nut. Just like a rich nut. That's my dog. As far as richness goes, I mean, it's not the least richest thing I've ever had, but it's definitely not up into the medium zone either. The richness is pretty minuscule, but it's still all around really good. I really like it as a sipper, and there's not much more I can say about it. It's Maker's Mark. It's very famous. Some people consider it a budget bourbon. In my neck of the woods, it's not that budget, even for the standard, but I think it's good, and I think it's a good gateway into bourbon, especially if you like Canadian whiskey. Like, 'cause a lot of Canadian whiskeys are corn, so they're sweeter right off the get-go. So if you're someone that enjoys like a sweeter corn whiskey, I think you might actually like the Makers. And yeah, you're going to be paying a little bit more for it than your typical Canadian, but it's good, and I think it has a pretty nice looking bottle. It's got a unique bottle. They seal it with the wax, so every bottle is pretty unique. And a fun little tidbit there about the Makers: they actually sometimes drop the bottles in the dipping process and get the whole thing covered all the way down to here in the wax. And if you ever find one of those in your liquor store, be sure to pick it up because it's super unique, and they actually call it a slam dunk. So if you're a basketball fan like myself, I think it'd be pretty cool to have a Maker's slam dunk on your shelf. But anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and rate this because I'm sweating like a pig and I have to turn the AC back on before I absolutely melt to death like the witch from Wizard of Oz. But on the nose, I'm going to go ahead and say 86 on the nose. Okay, it's not super complex, but it's nice dessert-like, sweet, baking, just a slight fruitiness, dark fruit, fig, maybe some dark cherry in there, maybe just very subtle dark cherry, maybe plum. I don't know if it's plum or fig. It's really faint, but it's good. You got the orange oil. It's like very concentrated orange peel. That is what I refer to as orange oil. And then just your caramel, toffee, typical bourbon, lots of oak. So yeah, let's go 87. 87 on the nose, and then palate is really good, sweet, oaky, a little bit nutty, definitely mouth-watering, but very thin, spicy, lots of nice warm cinnamon spices. It's good, but the palate is kind of where it's lacking. I would say the palate is about, it's a 78. to 79. I think I really enjoy it, but it's not got the texture I want, the oily mouth coating mouthfeel that I desire when I'm drinking a bourbon. So yeah, that's why the palate's gonna be a little bit lower at a 78. The finish, I gotta say, it is a somewhat long finish, but like I said, it's very in the back of the crowd. It's not standing out there. It's very faint, and you kind of gotta search for it to see if it's still there. You know, check in on it every once in a while. But I want to rate it high because it is a long finish, but the finish is not complex at all. It's just spice. I mean, it's just spice. It's something you'll get in almost every bourbon and almost every decent rye. So it's not nothing to write home about. But we'll go ahead and we'll give it a 78 as well, because I mean 78 is still good as far as I'm concerned. The palate is nice, and I really do enjoy this. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. I really do enjoy this. I think if I'm gonna have a few bourbons that night or a few whiskeys, I'm gonna start with something like this, because once you go on to something higher proof, something thicker, yeah, this is just, it doesn't hold up. It's like drinking sweet water at that point, you know. But yeah, it's still good. So overall, I'm gonna give this an 82 overall. It's a very nice bourbon. Like I said, if you're coming from Canadian, I think you'd enjoy this. It's very sweet, gives you that oaky taste. If you like ryes, I think you would probably enjoy this as well. But yeah, it's got the spice of the rye, and it's got the sweetness of the Canadian. And overall, I think it's pretty good. It's a little bit overpriced where I live, but hey, maybe where you live it's a little bit cheaper. So if you like Makers and you've tried Makers 46 or Makers 101, let me know what you think down below. Do you think they're a whole lot better than this one, or is it worth spending the extra little bit to get the higher proof? What do you guys think? And if you guys have tried them and compared them, do they have the same flavors, or like? Because I know, like, going from Wild Turkey 101 to Wild Turkey Rare Breed, they have a very similar profile. It's the same whiskey, essentially. So is that the same? Is that the case with Makers? Let me know down below. I really appreciate any support. Like and comment and subscribe definitely really helps me. Helps the YouTube algorithm. Helps me get out there and helps more people to see me, and maybe see some of the reviews of whiskeys that are going to be coming soon that are very hard to find. You know, there's a few bottles here that I've looked for reviews myself and I can't find them on YouTube, so I hope to be the person to bring you the reviews that you can't typically find on YouTube. Maybe you can find them in other places like Reddit and all that. But without further ado, guys, this has been Jesse, and I'm out, and I hope you guys have a great, safe weekend. We're coming up here on the NBA finals here soon. I'm super excited, and let me know who you got down below if you're an NBA fan, and if not, well, cheers guys anyways. It's been Whiskey Business, and I'm out. I already said cheers, but cheers again. It's got some heat, but it ain't nothing like the ambient temperature. Goddamn, I tell you, it's fucking hot in here. You guys think Canada's cold? Not all the time. Look at this face. Look at this. Your kids could slip and slide down that bitch. Look at that.